In this podcast, our Boro's pre-season friendlies look ahead to Swansea and make our season predictions. Well, kind of. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Avenelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Avenelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with me, Johnny, Dana, Tom and Matt. We are the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday Chatter in a podcast. And if it's the first time you've ever listened to the Boro Breakdown over the 5-6 years that we've been doing this podcast, welcome. And if you are a return listener or viewer, thank you very much for coming back to us. We are the Boro podcast, of course, that gives you the highs, the lows, the tactical analysis, the shit outside, and the knee slide club. But first, before we go into any of how we're feeling for the start of the season, it is time to chat about the FCAS. So this year, we're going to hopefully try and go one better and get the gold award. So last year, we got the bronze award at the FCAS. And how would you vote for us? It'll be in the link below. It's just via a form. It's a little bit longer this time, but if you love the podcast, you need to vote for us. You need to see a Boro podcast win another trophy, because I'm saying another trophy because we're going to win one this season. But we'll move on, guys, because chat about pre-season first. Go to that in just a moment, but that's going to get your thoughts and feelings of the season. It is next week, of course, with Boro play Swansea. Dan, I'll come to you. How are you feeling about the upcoming season? As many words as you can possibly make out.
I'm really excited, firstly. I'm also quietly confident. There's like a kind of contained and canned confidence with Boro this season. And I think it's because we have had a settled summer. There's not been a huge turnover of players. The only loss has been in the coaching staff through Aaron Danks. And I was thinking about last season, the season before that. Last season, we started the campaign with Hayden Coulson as our only left back. And we had our number 10 in Morgan Rogers playing as a number 9. Season before that, we lost arguably our best player in Marcus Tavernier on the eve of the season. So to know that we've got that settled squad, we've obviously added players. We haven't, like, McNair leaving isn't a huge loss. That's making me feel quite confident. And I think what's perhaps the most important part of this summer and the back end of last season as well, more important than the signings that we have brought in, is the players and the personnel that we've managed to keep hold of and tie down to longer contracts. McGree, Howson, Jones, Michael Carrick as well. I think it's a real statement of intent. And then when I look at our squad, there's no glaring weakness. People might say Lucas Engel is, but I don't subscribe to that. I think Engel is fine, but he's upgradable. And when you've got Ryan Giles lingering there, then obviously people are wanting Giles, and me too. There are positions I think could do with additional quality, but I don't think they're by any means a huge weak point. So I have nothing to moan about. Which is a weird feeling. Like, Boro keep chucking goodness at me, so I feel good.
That might come back to haunt you. But speaking of
curses,
I'm going to take away the malt curse this year and call it the Matt curse for his tweet I've seen this morning. Matt, how are you feeling about the upcoming season?
I'm positive. I'm living in the present, and I think in the present things are good. I'm looking around me, and I'm seeing upheaval in clubs I'd consider playoff rivals in the Championship. I'm seeing a change of manager. I'm seeing huge overhauls in squad. I'm seeing a little bit of unsettled fan bases with their pre-season. And at Boro, and I'm going to say this with a huge caveat, as it is Boro, I'm going to say that now. There seems to be a little bit of calm and clarity at Boro. We've retained our best players so far. Touch wood, that stays as is. I think the signings we've brought in have been just good additions. They've not had to be unbelievable. I think they've just added to the squad in good ways, and I'm sure there's more to come. I think pre-season's been pretty good. So, there is nothing to worry about at the moment. So, I think we've got no reason to not be positive and optimistic going into the campaign. I think Boro had a good season last year in terms of laying the foundations. getting a lot of our new players to settle in, and I think we've got a really good platform to build on this season, and I hope we do. I think we're all set and ready to go, and more prepared for the season as I think we've been in the last few seasons.
And Tommy, you sharing this optimistic start, or how are you feeling about it?
No, I'm more like cautiously optimistic, but 31 years of being a Boro fan has taught me never to go into a season optimistic because you only get hurt. So, I've been to a few games this pre-season. Thought we've looked good. We look more settled than we have done in recent seasons. As Matt said, the new signings have added something to the team. Not necessarily being, signing a Sombalonga for 15 million levels of hype or anything like that, but they have added things that we needed to the team, and they've been good signings. Hopefully, we can get a couple more. I know, obviously, Dana mentioned Ryan Giles, Tommy Conway was another one link. So, if we can kind of get that done before the end of the window, we're going to be looking fairly complete for the rest of the season. But going into last season, as Dana mentioned, we had Coulson, we had Rodgers playing up front. Our only striker, once he was back from injury, was Josh Coburn, who I'm sure we didn't want to put in that position, but we had signings dragging on throughout the start of the season, so it is really good. And then the thing with the contract renewals, I think McGree was probably the one everyone was most worried about, and maybe to a second, maybe Carrick was kind of second on that list. But seeing them commit to the club, for me, that is different to what we'll have seen in recent seasons. My first season having a season ticket, we all thought Mark Viduka was going to sign a new contract and commit, and he ended up going to Newcastle, and then probably that many more times over the years, where we think we're building something good, but the players don't necessarily buy into it, and now they are buying into it, and it's refreshing, and it's nice to see that from Boro at the moment.
Yeah, and I want to chat about the preseason with you, Tom and Matt, actually, because you both went to the games, or most of them, to be honest. I know Denny went to the home game yesterday as well, so I'll get your thoughts on that as well. But, Victoria, Bolton, Gateshead, Doncaster, Harrogate, and Fonz Alves FC and Herravine were the preseason games. Mostly we had 6 games, scored 10, conceded 5, 3 in one game, of course, but 5 clean sheets, which even I'm blown away by. It doesn't matter who you play, a clean sheet is a good thing. But Tom, you said that you've been to a few of the games. So how have we looked in the pre-season, and is anyone or anything that's been standing out for you?
Bolton up at Bishop Auckland, I thought we played quite well, and obviously the result reflected that in the end. Although it did come kind of late on in the second half, where Bolton had made a fair few subs. The thing that stood out for me in the first half there was the connection that McGree and Azaz have made. That looks like it'd be pretty good going into the season. I think we saw more of it against Heerenveen yesterday. And then second half, Ladilaf coming on and scoring a goal, as we've come to expect from him now. Bergzorg looked really, really good in that friendly. Not so much against Harrogate. I will say that he was probably showing the other side of Bergzorg, which we've been warned about against Harrogate, where he was kind of taking a defender on, waiting for him to catch up, taking him on again, then he'll go back, take on another one, and by the time he's done all that, the chance is gone. Didn't really help that Harrogate were playing quite deep there, so there wasn't necessarily an obvious pass, and I don't want to sound like I'm slating him there, but it was difficult against Harrogate, but I'd say to a lot of fans there, he kind of stood out for those reasons. But overall, I think he had something to that left-hand side that McGree doesn't necessarily have. And I think that was what the recruitment was all about this summer. Harrogate, I don't think he can kind of take too much from in terms of friendly, because it was largely a second-string / fringe players, youth players team. I would say that first half, Lenihan and Van den Berg at centre-back, Lenihan doesn't look like he's ever been injured at all. He doesn't look like he's lost a step. I wouldn't say Harrogate ever really threatened, other than when they were occasionally attacking down their left-hand side, their winger, which I think, off the top of my head, it might have been Sam Folarin, was given Dykesdale a horrendous time.
Oh, Christ. Sam Folarin.
I was expecting massive things from him when he was at Boro, and then he's just rinsing Dykesdale on a Wednesday night. But yeah, it was that was probably the only joy Harrogate were getting. But I wouldn't say you could kind of take too much from that game. Barlasser had a really good game. Morris did okay. Morris probably did better against Heerenveen than he did against Harrogate, but overall, I would say that we have looked pretty good in the friendlies I've been to, and there's been no kind of obvious missing kind of connections in the team. Like, no one's playing the ball 5 yards behind people or anything like that. And I think because we've made only 3 signings at this point, and one of them was with us for the last half of last season, I think it has been a little bit easier for Morris and Bergsorg to adjust to the team than it would be if we'd have made probably the same amount of signings that we had last season. So for me, we are looking quite settled, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out once we actually hit the season next week.
Yeah, and just on that as well, I think obviously all these have mentioned the stability of Boro already this season. That does help on the pitch as well. And Matt, have you noticed like anything that Boro have kept the same from the previous season, or is there any tactical tweaks that you've seen from Carrick's side in terms of playing out from the back? I know it looked a little bit sharp against Bolton, of course, but was there anything else that really stood out for you?
Yeah, we've looked really sharp and really settled. I think it's been good to see. I think the starting 11, almost the majority of the starting 11 that we were hoping to see more consistently last year. And it was frustrating last season, wasn't it, that we just never quite had the chance to really field that side and see them in full swing. And for me, I think we've seen that in pre-season. I think we've looked really good and sharp in possession. I saw that in the early friendlies. I thought against Bolton, albeit the first half was a little bit to and fro, and I think they had a few openings. I thought when we brought on and made, a wholesale 9 changes second half, we just took the game away from them. And McGree and Azaz were really good in that game. I thought their combinations in behind left were fantastic. I know we're used to McGree coming in off the left, but he was sort of roaming around a little bit on the right-hand side. Him and Azaz were sort of switching up a little bit. And I think Bolton's midfield and defence was struggling to really track them both. And obviously then you've got Lath making runs in behind as well. So we caused them a ton of problems and really took the game away from them. And I thought we had a really good second half performance there. Doncaster was a little bit crazy. There were goals galore in that game, and I think defensively maybe we struggled and looked a little bit too open. But I think going forward at times we looked absolutely scintillating, albeit against lower league opposition, of course. But yeah, it's just been really nice to see. I think that best 11 together in full flow, looking like one cohesive unit. And as Tom said, I wouldn't say there's anyone that particularly looks like a weak link. Yeah, there's players that could be improved upon. Yeah, there's players that you could say could do better at times, but each player clearly knows their role. They clearly know what to do in Carrick's side. And I think at times this season we've seen it really come to fruition and look really good. So I've been happy to see what this Boro side could do and what it could look like. And I just hope that we can keep the majority of this 11 together. In terms of new signings, Bergsorg, I think exactly what Brady said. I think he was spot on in his analysis. He will frustrate us at times. He will wow us at times. There's been moments in pre-season where some of the skill he's shown has been unbelievable. He definitely gives us something different. And I think in a tight game, if you bring him off the bench, he could give us that little bit of an extra spark. So I'm excited by him, but I'm also extremely prepared for, to have my head in my hands multiple times this season. And I just hope fans are patient with him, because I think equally he could really frustrate, but, he could win us a game in a moment, I think. And Morris has been particularly good. I think he's not took any time to settle. I know, obviously, in full swing in a championship game, which obviously is a lot quicker, and the pressure is heightened. We'll see how he copes, but I think in terms of a player who's just slipped into our midfield, he's looked really good. He's really good at nipping into tackles, interceptions, winning the ball back, and getting us moving. And he's got a good pass on him. He's got a good shot on him. We saw that against Heerenveen. He took a shot from outside the box and crashed the crossbar. So, yeah, we're looking steady. We're looking settled. And we've added a few little sprinkles of additions. So it's all about keeping this team together and keeping them fit for me.
Yeah, you all sound very happy with the transfers, so transfer business. But then the pre-season's always a good time for young players to come through, get some game time, show what they're about. And the two mainly this year being McCormick at left back and also Sonny Finch, who's been out for a while. He's slowly starting to come back. But where do you think his future is going to be? Because I know Josh Colburn was through into the, he's had some game times, so it wasn't too dissimilar for what he's not used to. But Sonny Finch, he hasn't really had much first team action. So, but where do you think he's going to be come the end of the transfer window? He has scored a couple of goals, of course. He has looked a little bit sharp, but where do you think he'll be?
I think he'll be at Boro. I don't see any immediate need to loan him out. He's 18, 19 tomorrow. He's got time on his side. He's clearly highly rated at the club. I think Chris Wilder introduced him to the first team when he was only 17. Carrick obviously played him a couple of times. Well, he played him against Swansea, didn't he? At the back end of last season, he got a cameo there because he was out for a period of time with an injury, and then came back in the PL2 season, scored 5 goals in the final 5 games. So I think he'll stick around this season, develop further within our under-21s, and then maybe we'll see him go out on loan within the EFL next season or at earliest in January. But I don't see any issue with keeping Sonny Finch in and around the team and just let him develop as is. I know there's a big clamour for certain young players to be loaned out, but Sonny Finch is incredibly young, and I think sticking with Middlesbrough, getting integrated again into the first team and just developing, training with Michael Carrick's first team side, I think that will probably be the best thing for him right now.
Yeah, we're always trying to rush players, aren't we? And I think you mentioned it. Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned it there. So let's just see where it lies. It could be in the under-21s this year, or the under-23, sorry, and then we'll see him next year. Depends on where his ability lies over the next 12 months. But obviously, we all mentioned the 4 signs as well: Delano Bergzorg, Aidan Morris, the re-sign of Luke Ayling, Harley Hunt as well, the 16-year-old from Swindon Town, wrapped up Boro's business so far. Carrick has also said that he could potentially see another person, or 2 people, or 3 people, or 4 people, or 5 people, who knows, come in before the start of the season. Could be Tommy Conway, could be Ryan Giles, could be anyone. Tom, you're fairly happy with the 2 new boys in Delano Bergzorg and Aidan Morris. You haven't really seen much of Harley Hunt. Luke Ayling's been obviously the re-signed, of course, but any of that in terms of the assessment side of things? Anything else to address there in terms of Boro's business?
Well, I mean, you mentioned not really seeing much of Harley Hunt. Did seem for the second half against Harrogate, and it was an unannounced change at half-time. And my instant kind of thought when I looked down the pitch, because he was right down the other end from where I would have been, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, that guy is huge. Who is that? And
he is not 16.
Yeah, I managed to get some signal on my phone, and Boro had said that Harley Hunt had come on at half time, and I was like, he was definitely born in the same hospital as Luke Littler, because not 16. I thought it was towards the end of the game we had him and James Wilson at the back, and you look at James Wilson, who just like, he looks like the second coming of Dale Fry in the way he's built, and then you look at Harley Hunt and like, he looks like the second coming of Brock Lesnar. What's he doing playing football? But you know what? He was really good. He was really quick off the mark. There were a couple of times, and I mean, people in the other stand might have seen this a little bit better than I did being behind the goal, but he looked like the striker had a bit of a few feet head start on him, and he still managed to catch him up, nip in front of them, and get to the ball. He does look like he's going to be one. A really good signing for the future. I think what was I was listening to the other day? It might have been You Are My Borough, and they were saying on there that he's probably going to be around the under 23s and kind of learn from Boro's system, and that's probably the ideal place for him for now. Luke Ayling, obviously, you knew what we were going to get with that. I did think what was interesting though was that Luke Ayling was sat with the coaching staff at Harrogate. He travelled. They did some sort of presentation on the pitch beforehand with him. I don't know what it was for. I was getting food at the time, but he was sat with the coaching staff and he was with the coaching staff at halftime and stuff. So I don't know if he's maybe using those kind of leadership qualities that he has to help with the development of some of the players this year and maybe step in with the coaching staff when needed. I have no idea. Maybe he was just sat there for the game because he needed to go there for the presentation, but I did think that was interesting at the time. And then, like I said, about Bergsorg and Morris, I think they both fit in fairly quickly. Bergsorg, I can see being one brought off the bench in most cases at the start of the season. As we saw yesterday, Howson went off injured, and for me, Heerenveen was Morris's best game so far. I think he does a cracking job of cutting the passing lanes. He made quite a few vital interceptions yesterday. So if it ends up being Hayden and Hayden starting against Swansea, I don't mind that at all.
I thought that during the game. It was very Bill and Ben and the Flower Pot Men. I thought, oh, wow. Because when Ian Morris was linked with Boro, I just thought he was Hayden Hackney, but in bold. And the fact that they've got similar sounding names is like the best thing ever. Hayden and Hayden in midfield. I love that.
I mean, now obviously the signings are done as well, but how many more signings do you think we need now, guys? Do you think we need much more than what we've currently got, apart from Hayden in the midfield, which we're going to probably keep that? I think that's definitely a catchphrase for the season. So, how many more signings do you think we need, guys?
I think it's the depth for me. I've got here, I don't know about you guys, they're not needs necessarily, but I think we could do with an upgrade on Gilbert. I know that he did have a good back end of last season, but if you could get yourself a really good player there, be it loan or permanent, probably a loan player actually, you bring that in beneath Azaz. An upgrade on Coburn as well. Obviously, that's what we're looking at with Tommy Conway. And then a right winger because Force unfortunately can't seem to stay fit. And then obviously Ryan Giles would help too. So a couple of little upgrades, mostly in depth. Obviously not in the case of Giles, because if Giles comes in, then he's absolutely that starting left back for us. But yeah, a few little upgrades there in terms of depth. But we're almost there in having a pretty complete team, in my opinion, or a complete squad anyways.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I think we're not too far away. The Force injury for me just like makes me really sad, because you just know how good he can be. I think if he's fully fit, I think he does start ahead of Jones as well. But that right winger role, I think, is definitely key. You could even like float the idea of a natural left winger as well. You know, like someone who's an out and out left winger. I pretty much mentioned that on the season review show over last season. Well, I think it's still a position where you can change a game in that, but then also like the left back role as well around Ryan Giles. He'll come in with no strings attached and basically just go really. And he had plenty of assists for the season. I think with like Elaf as well, his movement would be really good. And then I think other than that, you're probably going who can move about. You know, you've got McGree that can fill in there for Azaz if he was ever injured. And Bergsorg can play on the left, so you've got some rotation there. But I think other than that, I'll be fairly happy with it. I don't know what Matt or Tom, I don't know if you guys have anything else on that one.
It's just the two for me. And if we can get another striker in, with that likely being Tommy Conway, and another left back, which hopefully Ryan Giles, I think we're pretty much sorted. What I did fail to mention about pre-season was every time I've seen Alex Gilbert, he's looking really sharp at the moment. And I would say that is an improvement on where I saw him last season. So I've got faith in him. And, it might be misplaced because I've only seen a little bit at the moment. But I do have faith that he could step up to number 10 if needed. If we get those two, I'll be very happy. If we get those two plus another option on the right wing, I'll be absolutely ecstatic with how this window's gone.
I can see a T-shirt already saying "Faith in Gilbert." I can just see it. I belong to Gilbert. There's so much we could go over, you know.
I believe in Alex Gilbert.
Oh no, he's the head of the ceremony. Anyway, Matt, you got any more? And before, because I want to chat to Dana about Tommy Conway in a moment, but Matt, you got any more to tell on that?
I'd agree completely with what's been said. I think just how good is it to see us heading into a season with a Boro squad that's near completion? I mean, is a squad ever complete? You can always improve, you can always make it better, but to see that all of our best players are still here. I think, if I'm right in saying, I noticed when we started, when we played Bolton, we started with an 11 that was strong, and we're also all Boro players that played here last season. And I think that's a great bit of continuity. I think it's a compliment to the long-term signings that we made last season. Obviously, last season it seemed like a bit of an overhaul, a lot of new players, but I think we're starting to see the benefit of that now because all of these players are settled. It's just a case of adding and refining it. I'd agree. I'd like a better backup than Josh Coburn. I'd like someone else to compete with Jones on the right. I love Forster Pieces, but I am starting to get more and more concerned by his injury record. And yeah, depending on what happens with Dijksteel, you might need another right back there. I think maybe we might just freshen up a few areas, maybe within the loan market. And I know we're going to go into more detail about left back in a bit, but with Bangura's injury, we absolutely need someone there alongside Lucas Engel as well. But we're nearly there, which heading into the season's a great position to be in.
I'll tell you what I've taken from pre-season, looking at the centre-back options we have there, an abundance of quality, but Del Fry is probably the biggest loser of pre-season, I would say, because players have come back. He's obviously injured. And even last season, he was a bit of a loser in that Ralph van den Berg came in. I know that's a really bad phrase, but hopefully people know what I mean. Ralph van den Berg came in and excelled. Matt Clark came back from injury and excelled. I feel like Del Fry's stock has maybe dwindled a little bit. He's fried, to put it punningly. But yeah, I don't really know what his future is, to be honest. What are you What are you scrunching your face for? That was good. That Tom would be proud of that.
No. I just
I enjoyed that one.
Thanks, Tom.
I enjoy.
I'm just getting merch ideas. I've just got an image of a shirt with like a frying pan with Dale Fry's face like embedded into an egg.
Oh, you know,
Dale fried.
I'll be on that straight away if he's not already done that.
Yeah, he's definitely on it, isn't he? Already Tom. So, I mean, yeah, no, it was a good one, didn't you? And you also called him a loser twice. So, I mean, poor Dale Fry, he's being absolutely memed, merched, being called a loser. He's not really had a good couple of minutes, really. Tell you who also hasn't had a good couple of minutes and have had pre-season, Tommy Conway, Dana. I think he's playing with the under-21s, barely played for Bristol City, linked with Boro, £5 million deal. What do you think he could bring if he was signed for Boro? I was doing a bit of work on him as well, and what I really liked about him was his movement off the ball. I thought he was really good. Good eye for a pass, of course, getting good positions, good finisher. Looks really confident in front of goal, but I don't know if there's anything else that you've got to add to that.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Tommy Conway is penalties. 5 of his 10 league goals last season were from the spot. 20 total championship goals in 82 games, so he averages a goal every 2.5 games. It's weird because I flagged Tommy Conway up in our group chat a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? Just because I saw something on the BBC, the Bristol version of BBC, with Liam Manning saying that he's been demoted to the under-21s because he's made it quite clear that he wants to leave. And I just dropped a message in the group chat saying, I wonder if Tommy Conway would be someone that Boro could go in for, because I think it makes complete sense to have somebody there in Tommy Conway to compete with Latte Lath. I don't think Tommy Conway would be necessarily that asked about playing, not second fiddle, but playing in that competing role, especially at a club that is a jump up to Bristol City. I know their fans are saying it's a sideways step, which I could get from a short-term focus because it's championship to championship, and I think maybe things have been teased where Tommy Conway has maybe wanted that Premier League move, but I don't think it is in the medium or long term, because I think, simply put, Boro have greater potential than Bristol City have simply ever had in the championship. Sorry to say it. So I think he would be playing with better players as well and under a better manager in Michael Carrick. So I think it makes sense. And I also think that Michael Carrick can develop Tommy Conway into a very potent goal scorer at this level from open play as well as from the spot. Because I think when you look at a player that predominantly scores penalties or scores a big share of penalties, you kind of want a little bit more goals from them from open play. But I think it could be a good signing for us. One that could, as I said, be developed into a very good player at this level. And if he joins, I'll be all on board that. I mean, if he does sign, we'll obviously have our lowdown on that, Johnny. So we'll know a lot more and learn a lot more about him and his playing style probably then. But yeah, right now I'll feel good if we sign Tommy Conway, because I think he's one of those players that could very much explode under the right management.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, we don't want to mock curse him there, but I hope so. But yeah, he's got really good attributes. So I think when I've been watching him over on my scout, like I just really liked his movement. I thought his way to pick up in a really good area. You know, stretch your back line, getting into good positions when he's in front of goal, and his finishing seemed really calm, collected, and you know, very big cliche, but he knows where the back of the net is. But it's good to know that when you're a striker, isn't it? If you know where the back of the net is, shows that he's got good eyesight. But I think overall, I think it must be a really good signing for us. But you know, any striker that comes to Boro right now, they're going to have abundance of chances. You know, we were really up there for chances created last year. I think we were in the top 3. For that, you know, we were also in the top 5 for biggest chances missed. So kind of really summed up our season last year. But someone who added to us the season prior was Ryan Giles, who gave us a lot of assists and also a lot of chances. Heavily linked, Matt. Heavily linked. And obviously with Bangura being out now for a while of his after surgery on his Achilles, how would you feel if you seen Ryan Giles in a Boro shirt once again?
I'd feel tremendous. I'd be ecstatic. It would be wonderful. And you know what? When he was first linked earlier in the window, and there was these rumours that Boro were preparing, I think the word was used, preparing a bid. That was, I think, prior to Bangura's injury. I think we did have 2 fit left backs then. I believe, maybe I'm wrong, because the Bangura injury's been a little bit ominous. But I think there was already. I think Boro were already looking to maybe bring Ryan Giles in anyway. But the argument was, do we need Ryan Giles? Is it a want? Is it a need? We've got Engel, we've got Bangura. They're the long-term options. Do you disrupt that to bring back Ryan Giles? However, if we needed a reason to bring him back before, we absolutely have the right reason to bring him back now, because Bangura's injury, it's Achilles, it's serious. He's going to be out for a long time. They're not even putting a time scale on it. So, you know, I'm gutted for Bangura first and foremost. Absolutely gutted for him. But we've now only got Lucas Engel. And for me, now we've got the perfect reason to... If we were already looking, I think we need to put our foot down with Ryan Giles and go and get him. And it would be a really big sign of intent. Would it be harsh on Engel? I don't know. I think Engel's a solid championship left back. But I think if we really want to go for it, you go and get Ryan Giles. I don't think there's anywhere better for him in terms of suiting his strengths. I think he fits perfectly into our system. I think he'd want to come back here in a heartbeat. And he doesn't look happy at Hull. I mean, Hull looks like an absolute shit show, to be honest, at the minute. It doesn't look good there. I don't think he looks happy. They didn't play in their final pre-season, or he didn't start at least in their final pre-season friendly yesterday. I believe he's been playing at left wing. Had him a bit further forward. I just don't think things sit right there at all with him. So I think if he's there, go and get him, Boro, and it could be a game changer. I think I, along with every other Boro fan, would be over the moon to see him back in a Boro shirt. So fingers crossed. I think the window of opportunity has opened up big time for us to go and get him. So fingers crossed that materialises.
Yeah, and that left wing role, like he could definitely play that. He just nullifies defensive work and just solely focus on getting a ball in the box. And I think that's what he's really good at. But who knows? We could see him, we might not see him. You best believe, though, we'll be doing a video on him if he does sign. But in terms of we said a lot about incomings, but it's just outgoings now. So we've had all these settled players. You know, there's good balance. And Paddy McNair's being the only one that the big highlight player that was left. Is there any outgoings that you guys think might happen over the next month or so?
Dyke still, I think. would be
Yeah.
one. If there's a club that's interested in him, I think he would probably be off. I think it might depend on how far away Tommy Smith is, or if there's anyone else who can kind of fill in at right back. Although I suppose Rav can play there, and it would give an excuse to have Rav, Lenihan, and Clark in the same back line. But I don't think he's going to be at the club too much longer. I don't think Carrick necessarily rates him that highly. And I think that was shown a few times last season as well. But I think he's probably one where we need to look to upgrade in that position, and he's just going to be a casualty of that. And it's not nice to say because he's had some good moments with us, and the whole Underwilder, Dijksteel, Crooks, Jones connection on that right hand side. It worked amazingly well at that point, but I think the club's probably moved on from the point where we need Dijksteel at right back. I would also probably say Coburn out on loan if we do get Conway, because I think that Sonny Finch could easily be our third choice striker. He probably offers a little bit more in terms of movement and speed, as it's comparable to say Latte Laugh, or not comparable because we haven't seen that much of him, but in terms of the pace and the kind of profile of him, he probably offers around the same thing. Whereas I think at the moment, if Latte Laugh goes off, so say as he did yesterday, people generally don't expect much from Coburn when he comes on, and that might change when we get Conway. If we get Conway, I should say. I don't know anything there. I'm not in the know, but it might change at that point, and we might have a genuinely, good second option in terms of his movements. But I think if we get to the point where we need a third choice striker, I think Finch could do that, and Coburn could probably do with being out on loan to another Championship club for the season where he's going to get more time. Plymouth was obviously mentioned last season. If they're still interested, it could be a good move for him. But they're the two I would say as kind of like likely outgoings.
This is the part where I remind everyone that Matthew Hoppy exists, and he is still at Middlesbrough Football Club. So I think he is the most likely. I'm not surprised, Tom, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, pulling back to Matthew Hoppy, by the way, just nowhere, absolutely nowhere.
Can't wait for the Durack bomb arc where he just comes from nowhere and then scores about 20, 30 goals.
Imagine the actual scenes if that actually happens. That'd be wild, wouldn't it? I mean, it's not at the realms of possibility these days, and that's football. Yeah. But guys, we're going to move on to the predictions, but I feel like I need a bit of a breather, to be honest, because I want to brace myself for the predictions and how crap our predictions normally are. So let's go and take a little bit of a breather, and let's prep and let's go for these predictions.
I know you probably hate ads, but don't skip this one because we've got some very exciting stuff to talk about. Do you want to be a part of Knee Slide Club? Well, you can be, but why not get your own Knee Slide Club t-shirt as well? Fancy a slightly less creased version of the Shithouse Island tee? Or perhaps you want a Boro Breakdown embroidered hat to keep your head warm during those cold, cold Riverside nights. We've teamed up with Teesside to create our own Boro Breakdown merch range. If you want to support us on the podcast and support a local business, then the link to our merch items are always in the description. Happy shopping and up the Boro Breakdown.
Here we go then. Here we go. Prediction time. It's the time of the season where we try and predict something and we get it terribly, terribly wrong. But that's all right. It's all fun and games. But the first prediction we have is, where do we think Boro will finish this season? Who would like to go first is probably the question.
Not me after last season. I'll leave that to someone else.
All right, then. I'll pick on one of these. Tom says fourth.
Fill that gap. Yeah, it might change if we get a couple more players in, and depending on how we start the season. But there are still some good teams in this league, but I think we're going to do better than last season, and I think 4th is realistic.
Matt, do you want to go next?
I've gone 5th. I think if we
Ooh.
keep this team fit, I think with the additions, we should expect playoffs. However, I think it will be the tail end. I think there are 3 or 4 teams I think that will be extremely strong, who'll make up that top 4. But I think we should be expecting to snip into them last 2 playoff places. So I'll go with 5th.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna wait. Danny, you're going to wait till last. I'm going to go 6th. I'm going to go 6th. Actually, just to add to that as well, 6th or 7th, because this could be anything this year. I think the playoffs are really, it's all to play for. But Dana, where are you going to go?
2nd. No, I'm just kidding. I've gone for 5th, but if Boro sign Giles, if they bring in adequate depth in regards to certain positions like number 10, number 9, and we have the quality within that depth, then I'll bump us up to 4th. I'll reveal my full top 6 later on, but I've gone with, I think right now I'm leaning towards 5th for us.
Okay, then leads quite nicely because who is going up and who is going down? You know what? I'm gonna stick with this route here. Tom, you can go first. Who do you think's going up and who do you think's going down?
I think automatically Burnley and Leeds go up.
Yeah.
And then through the playoffs, I'm going to go Boro Coventry final and Boro go up. Because it will finish this championship story.
We are not clipping that and putting that on Twitter because our mentions will be full of Coventry fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Say their name and they appear. They'll be all over our Twitter comments, YouTube comments, and no
we
one's
stole this kit off them.
Yet.
According to them, we stole this shirt off them. This is a Coventry shirt with the Boro badge on, apparently.
Yeah. If Twitter was around in 1999 when that shirt was originally around, I'm sure they'd have said it then as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, I like your long-term booking there, Tom. I'll be honest, I quite like that storyline. I quite like that. Matt, what are you going to go for? Who's going up and who's going? Well, actually, no. To be fair, Tom, you didn't mention who's going down, so I'll come back to you. I'm going down.
Right, so going down, I've got so far Oxford and Derby, and as the 3rd team going down, might be a controversial one at this point, and this is going to depend on how things play out for them in the rest of the transfer window, but I'm going to Hull City. Looking at their Twitter, because I'm trying to find out more about if Giles is on his way and stuff like that, a lot of their fans are kind of a bit panicky about the pre-season they've just had. They've just been beat 2-0 away at Reading yesterday. They've had 3 injuries. They've not been doing great in the transfer window. And there's quite a bit of unrest in their fan base at the moment and people kind of expecting the worst. So I'll put them there for now. It might change come the end of the window, but things don't seem right around that club at the moment.
Yeah, I think losing Philogene and Jacob Greaves, is massive for them. It was massive, and in terms of creativity, Philogene last year, his individual brilliance was fantastic. Really good centre back in Greaves. They haven't really fully reinvested it yet either, and I think they're struggling to get bodies over the line. So I think that will probably dictate how or if Boro sign Giles. To be honest, I think if they were able to bring some cover in, then I think we'll see Ryan Giles on a Boro shirt. But if they don't, it could be.
I think they might panic and need the money as well, because one of the things I've read from their fans on Twitter this morning was that someone seems to think that the guys in charge of transfers there are working with a very limited budget and they can't bring in who they want to. So I do wonder if it's just going to come down to whose need is greater, ours for another left back, or do Hull need the money that much to bring in some more players?
I mean, I didn't want to say they were win or bust in January last year, but I'm going to say they were win or bust in January last year. That's it. Matt, who are you going to go for then? Are you going to be as bold as Tom there in your up and downs, or what are you going to go for?
I think going up, I've got Luton and Leeds. I've just got a nice feeling about Luton. I feel they'll just be consistent. They won't have any huge ups or downs, and they'll just consistently get there. And Leeds as well, I think. If they if they replicate what they did last season, they should go up. And I've got Boro to go up via the playoffs as well. I think if you've got Boro in the playoffs, you've got to hope we'll finally get up through them. And I like Tom's narrative. I think Carrick finally gets one up on Robbins on the grandest stage of them all, not WrestleMania, but Wembley. And I think it will be the end of a story that not even Triple H could book. So I'm going to go with that. And going down, I've gone with quite I wouldn't say a boring choice, but I've seen these three teams chucked around by a lot of people. I think I've gone with Oxford, Plymouth, because it's Wayne Rooney, and Blackburn. I know they've started making signings there, but there's just not a very good aura coming out of Blackburn, and especially if they lose Sammy Smodix this window, I think they'll be in a bit of bother.
Okay, and then for you, Dana, I'll come to you for this one, and then I'll round it off.
Yeah, I've gone for Leeds going up as champions. I can't envisage a situation, where they don't. They've got an abundance of quality. They've got a good manager there. I think they will reinvest the money. I know they've just lost Somerville to, was it Everton? I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. Was it Everton? No, it was West Ham. Sorry, West Ham. So I've gone for them going up as champions. I've gone Burnley second, Scott Parker to continue his football terrorism. And then Coventry, I've actually got Coventry third in the table, and usually the third place team goes up via the playoffs. So I'm going to pick Coventry to go up via the playoffs. Going down, I've got Watford. They seem like an absolute mess. I'm looking at their squad and I see nothing that really gives me confidence that they'll have a good season. I like Chak for Tadza in midfield. That's pretty much it. They're about to lose Yasser Asprilla to Leicester, I believe. I think they've hijacked Ren's move for him. Keeper situation's a bit fumbly. Don't think Tom Cleverley is. He might be, but I'm not confident that Tom Cleverley is a manager that can get a team playing above their ability, like Danny Roll did for Sheffield Wednesday last season. So I've got them third bottom, and then Plymouth. Very lazy prediction, obviously, Wayne Rooney factor there. And then Derby, rock bottom, the whipping boys of the Championship, which I'll enjoy that.
Yeah, who wouldn't enjoy that? For me, I've followed Matt in a way with Luton and Leeds. I think Leeds will be your champions. I think it's a natural. They've got too much quality there. There's some really good teams in the division this year in terms of be fighting for that playoff spot. You got Burnley. I think Sheffield United will probably, if they keep. If they recruit well enough, they'll be there or thereabouts. But I'm not really 100% sure. You've got Coventry there, who've always been there and followed Boro in this trajectory the last few seasons. Norwich look quite good. We look quite good. Sheffield Wednesday could potentially look good this year. Look really good towards the back end of last year. But I'm going to go Leeds Luton as your two, and then the third team I'm going to go with. I'll probably go with Coventry as well. Then I think Coventry will probably just do it this year. And then going down, I've got Derby County bottom. I've got now this is one where I feel like it's a bit of a bold one, but when I looked at the squad, I'm just like, how does this gel together? It was just a bit weird. So I'm going to go Cardiff as second bottom. And then I'm going to go Watford as third bottom. Now, Cardiff's an interesting one because I had a look at the numbers last year, and they were like the third worst team for expected goals. Very, very low for chances created. They have brought in some good players, but I just think that it doesn't really gel. I don't know. I'm just like a bit like, I'm not really too sure on you. But then you've got like Oxford, who I think have got enough confidence there. I think Portsmouth will probably look good this year. And obviously Derby, garbage. So it's the team full of old men. So it's a bit like, I'm not really sure. But yeah, they're 3.4. But I'll move on if there's no debate to be had.
I was just going to mention my top six because I said I would earlier. So Leeds, Burnley, top two, Coventry, third, Middlesbrough, fourth, Luton, fifth, Sheffield United, sixth for me.
Yeah. Well, I think with Sheffield United, it's all about that November to January time for them. I feel like they didn't really start off well when they went up from the Premier League a few seasons ago, when Boro had Tony Pulis in charge, and then Labour last year as well. The last time they went up, they weren't particularly convincing. They have lost some players, but they brought some good buddies in, like Callum O'Hare. I think it's a fine signing for them. So we'll see where they end up. I just can't wait to see the ham sandwich face Chris Wilder back at the Riverside.
The reception there is going to be frosty, I think.
I thought he's going to get a book up on, is he? No.
No.
But anyway, sacked by Christmas. Surprise package team of the season. I always like this one because it's either terribly right or terribly wrong. So I went on Bristol City last year, and everyone says that because they've got potential, but then it's never ever seemed to do it. So this would be the year where I don't pick them, and they'll probably finish in the top 6. Dan, I'll come to you first. Then I'll go Matt, and then I'll go Tom, and I'll finish off. So Dan, who's your surprise package team of the season?
Mine is Swansea. I think they'll have a largely impressive season, but just miss out on the top 6. I do think they'll try to challenge for it, but ultimately fall short. I'm not sure on their goalkeeper options, but they do have some good players. I like Timon and Key, the fullbacks. Ronald is an exciting and effective player. Matt Grimes is a very good midfielder at this level, and they've just signed Zan Vipotnik. There we go. Break it down. From Bordeaux. Rest in peace, Bordeaux. Slovenia international. He seems to have quite a bit of a nice bubble of hype around him. So I was looking at their squad thinking, do they have that striker that could get them the goals? I think he could be that. So yeah, keep an eye or half an eye on Swansea this season. I would say they're my pick for surprise package team of 24-25.
They were on my notes actually, because when I'm saying prior to the show, I said I have 3 teams that could be anything. And Swansea, one of those teams. I'll put his bit same because I'm chatting. But
it's a good point that you make, that they could be anything. I think there's a lot of teams that could either be like challenging for promotion or fighting relegation. I think it's very open, the Championship, very insecure, I think, which makes it fun, makes it the best league in the world.
Oh, it definitely does. I think they just need to keep adding. I think, like you were saying, they just need to keep adding because they have lost a few decent players, but if they get the right signings in, and they've changed the way they've played, obviously under Luke Williams, back down to this possession-based style, and I think that might come good. But the other 2 teams I had one was Sheffield Wednesday, because they could be in either a really good team or a really bad team. I think they did really well last year, and they had a really good setup. They look a lot stronger. They'll probably be about a mid-table side this year. But then the actual surprise team that I have is Portsmouth. I think that they'll look really good this year. I think they've brought in a great signing in Sammy Silvera. I think he's going to pull the strings for them. And I think he'll do the bit. But look, I think they're a really good side, and watched a little bit of them last year. Really comfortable in possession. They're confident when they get forward. They have some good system about them, and I just like them. And it's nice to see Portsmouth back in the Championship, and even the Premier League days, when I remember when Yakubu banged that trick against us before. Back in the real heyday, about 20 years ago, that. But I just really like them. So
have you seen their fixtures though? Like the fixture gods have done them dirty. Listen to this. They've got Leeds first, then Luton second. They've got us third, then Sunderland, then West Brom, then Burnley, then Sheffield United. It's like the way that their fixtures fall, at least initially, and it probably scale back towards the back end of the season as well, is like that's so unfortunate for them. But I like John Mousinho. I think he's a good manager. They seem to have smart recruitment, so I think you might have something there, Johnny.
Look, if you want to announce yourself on the Championship stage, you've got to beat the big boys. So
true.
I believe in the John Mousinho train, and you know, if Carrick ever left, maybe someone I would like us to bring in. Who knows? Hey, point out there. Matt, who's your surprise team of the season?
I've gone with the team you've mentioned. I've gone with Sheffield Wednesday. I think they've recruited well. I think they've brought in quite a few decent players. I think if they gel, then yeah, I think they'll be decent. I think Danny Rowe's the main factor for optimism for me. I believe he's committed. Is he signing a new deal, or is he committed to a longer term deal? I'm not sure if he did, but I believe since he come into the club last season, they would have been 9th in the Championship, which I think, given all the issues they've had off the field, an absolute lunatic of an owner. I think he did exceptionally well given all the noise and the circus really going around Sheffield Wednesday at times last season. So, yeah, if Danny Röhl can get these new signings bedded in quickly, I think momentum could be a thing at Hillsborough as well. I think if they can get that crowd behind that team and they can start well, I fancy them to have a good season. I know a lot of the Isles fans have gotten a little overexcited and think they're going to get playoffs. I'm not going to go that far, but I think it'll be worlds apart from last season. They could get top 10, and I think that would be a surprise given where they were last season. So, yeah, I'm behind the Danny Röhl hype train, and I think Sheffield Wednesday will be a really good team this season.
And then Tom, bring us home. What have you gone for?
See, I was thinking Sheffield Wednesday myself, but you made a very good point that they could be anything this season. And I feel like so many people have gone for Sheffield Wednesday and bits of content that I've seen that I don't want to go with them. Portsmouth were my other one, and I think they are generally quite well run the last few seasons. They've got up on a good amount of merit, and I think they can do well this season. So probably going to go with Portsmouth.
Just before I obviously move on to the next one, but Sunderland are a team are also could be anything. I've seen poor Gab put them champions, but I don't know how he's come to that assumption. But he's seen something, and I don't know what he's seen, but he's seen something. He's had a big fat paycheck, which could be the other side of things is as well.
Or a big fat pint, or two,
Yeah.
or three, or four.
Yeah.
But we love Gab, so there will have been some thinking behind that, and obviously he's done his research and stuff. So, hey, we'll see. It's the Championship. You really never know.
Yeah, that's right. You never know. But what I do know is Boro's Young Player of the Year, and I feel like this is a very bit of an easy one, to be honest. But Tom, I'll come back to you. Who is your Boro Young Player of the season?
Is it an easy one? Because I don't know where we draw on the line for young. I mean, Johnny Howson's ever young, so we'll maybe go with him. But...
Please put him as yours. Please put him as yours.
If Hackney is still counting as young, we'll go for Hayden Hackney. If not, I think it has to be between potentially Alex Gilbert and George McCormick. So, and they're the only two I could probably see challenging for it. But I was having to think for our 11 and our depth, and I was like, I don't know who exactly is counting as young this season. I feel like we don't have a lot of very, very young players. So,
what about Rav?
Probably go with Hackney. Rav is the obvious one. That was who I was forgetting. So yeah, Rav to do it, I think.
Yeah, I'm Rav as well, to be honest. A bit of an easy one. Matt, who are you going to go for?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? There's so many players you could put under the bracket of young. I mean, if you want to go super, super young, if he ends up in the team due to an injury crisis, you could even say Sonny Finch. If we have an injury crisis and he ends up playing more minutes and gets brought up into the squad, because I think he's looked brilliant pre-season. But I'm going to go with Gilbert. I think it's going to go full Gilbert. And I think with Azaz, Azaz will play. Obviously, if he's fit, he'll play predominantly a lot in that position. But I think just knowing what Boro's injury record's like, I think Gilbert will get a couple of chances this season. And based off of what I've seen so far, he's a different option. Don. And I think Rav and Hackney, I'd rather look at them as potential players of the season. So I'd rather maybe give an award to the Frenchman.
Love him. Absolutely.
The adopted Frenchman.
Yeah, we do need to clarify. We know it's Gilbert. And we say Gilbert because he has a bit of pizzazz about him.
You started that. That's your fault.
I did start that. It's in the lowdown video. Watch that lowdown if you've got 10 minutes. Dana, are you going to go for? I mean, have you already said it?
No, I didn't. I've gone for Hayden Hackney, mostly because I think he'll add goals to his game this season, and ultimately goals speak, and they speak loudly. So I think I've always wanted him. Well, I say always wanted the past 2 seasons. Well, last season, I wanted Hayden Hackney to be that goal scorer midfielder. Now, obviously, he wasn't really allowed to be that because of injuries, but I think he has the potential to be that box crashing 8 that just arrives in the box and scores goals, like that Chelsea goal that we saw in the Cup. So I think Hayden Hackney will get Boro's Young Player of the Season.
Okay, then. And then player of the season. Matt, I'm going to come to you. You're going to stick with Gilbert and say he's going to win it all? Or are you going to pick someone else for Boro player of the year?
Yeah, this is why I didn't want to put Hackney or Rav as young player of the year, because I feel like one of them two will probably be Boro's player of the year. I think, as Dana said, goals are a big, with awards, they often just, scuff people's perception. People always gravitate towards the player who scores the most goals. So I'm probably going to leave this for my bold prediction, so I won't go a lot of laugh. Yeah, I'll go ahead and Hackney. I feel like if he stays, he's ready to just. I mean, he already, I think, in pre-season looks a level above. A lot of other players. He looks like a Premier League player, ready and waiting. So, if he adds goals to his game, gets goals and assists, I'll go ahead and Hackney. I think he's in for an absolutely unbelievable season.
Dana?
I've gone for Latte-Lath. Again, it's kind of the same thinking that goals are loud, and I think he'll be Boro's top scorer, and that will essentially make him Boro's player of the year.
Bye to the Premier League team in the summer.
Yes.
So, poor Latte-Lath. But Tom, who are you going to go for?
Well, this one should be a bit easier for me because I'm not having to think of people's ages and forgetting that Rav van den Berg exists. But I am going for another surprisingly young player in McClark. I think he's going to add to his collection of Player of the Season awards that he's picked up at Portsmouth, West Brom and Derby. I think he's going to get it for us. I think for me, he's looked outstanding in pre-season. And if he can carry that over into the season, he's going to be a very enjoyable defender to watch, and it takes some doing to be an enjoyable defender. Rav managed it last year. I think Clark can do it this year.
Yeah, there's no way he's 27. There's no way. Just no way. There's no way I'm older than Matt Clark. There's no way. I'll look about 12.
I got a photo with him last season. I was like, I can't believe I am older than you. I was like looking at the pair of us. I was like, no, that can't be right. But
just because of the baldness in it. I can't wait for him to put Miracle Grow on his head, and all of a sudden he's like Victor Valdez and has actual hair by the end of the season.
To be fair, if I could grow a beard like Matt Clark, I would probably say I look the older of the two of us in that photo. But no, it's the beard and the bald head, I think, that did it.
Yeah, we're on the back nine. Me and you, Tom, on the back nine. But oh well, that's our football career is a long finished. I know it's a tough one, isn't it? But I want to go for mine, and I'll come to you at the end. Then I think Finn Azaz. I think Finn Azaz or Riley McGree will be the Boro's player of the year. I just adore Finn Azaz. I think he's going to be such a good player for us this year. He's used to the system now, and you could see a glimmer of it last year with the balls, but towards the back end, like the last 10 games, he looked really, really good and fun. He had a really good record last year. He's always looked good in the Championship. So I think I'm going to go Finn Azaz. I think he's going to be a great contributor. And also if Riley McGree's fit, I think he'll also fall into that as well because he's an enjoyable watch. But then Dana, who are you going to go for?
I already said it. Latte-Lath.
Oh, Latte-Lath, yeah, sorry. Who have I missed out then? Who have I missed out? I've missed
No.
out, have I? No,
Scotty.
yeah, I feel like I really missed someone out. But the thing is with Scotty though, he's the most memorable person, but I always forget him. But we'll go to the one which probably the reason why I didn't really want to move to this point, but it's the ball prediction. I hate this one because it is so terribly wrong every year. I think last year we said about set pieces and didn't really score one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say mine first. I think we'll be in the top 6 for clean sheets. There, I said it.
That is bold, considering that we haven't really been the most defensive, like solid defensive team under Michael Carrick. So that is pretty bold.
It is bold. Look, attacking wins your games, defenses win your titles. And if we want to win the title, we have to have a decent clean sheet side this year. We had 11 last year, which was put us 16th in the Championship. If we had 5 clean sheets in pre-season, and yes, it might have been against shitter opposition, but it's not the point. We need more clean sheets, Don. And if we don't do that, then God help us. But yeah, mine's going to be top 6 for clean sheets. So let's see. Tom, who are you going to... What's your bold prediction?
I mean, probably going to look back and regret this at the end of the season, like we always do. Mine is Latif outscoring Akpom in his best season this season.
Ooh.
I mean, statistically,
I like that one.
Statistically, if he was fit, he would have beat Chuba last year. So not a bad one. Not a bad one at all. Dan, what's your bold prediction? And I'll round off for you, Matt.
I've got two. I've got that Michael Carrick gets the better of Mark Robbins. So by that I mean that we actually beat Coventry. And we do the double over Bristol City. Because we never beat Bristol fucking City. So I think we'll actually do the double over them. And sorry for swearing. I'll wash my mouth out next time.
I mean, they are bold predictions and probably needed that swear word then to really emphasise the point and see if it's actually going to happen. And then what's going to be your bold prediction?
The reason why I was nodding so much when Tom said his is because I think, but I don't know if he's read my notes, but I had exactly the same. I have Latif to win the Golden Boot, and I think he'll surpass 30 goals this season. I think we'll see a Boro striker, and it'll be a 3+. 3-0 plus, not 3+. Christ, want him to come on 3. I think he'll hit more than 30.
So we've had plenty of strikers who've done that, Matt, and then
Yeah,
nothing else.
Imagine winning the Golden Boot on 3 goals. Christ.
Didn't Harry Kane do it?
Well, look, we've set this up for Latif to get injured first game of the season, season. So I'm gonna let you revisit the ball prediction at the end of September, and you can stick or twist. Right? You can stick or twist. But thanks, guys. Thanks for your predictions. They're going to go down in probably history as the worst predictions we've ever had. So we'll see how we get on at the end of the season when we revisit them. But let's look ahead now to Swansea, because Boro and Swansea have never played against each other on the opening day of the season until next week. So a bit of history, Swansea finished 14th last season with 57 points under Luke Williams. But to get us up to speed, we spoke to Luke from Swanscast to get their thoughts on the summer and the game and their season this year.
Hi everyone at Boro Breakdown, it's Luke from Swanscast here. Thanks for having me back on the channel. Just a quick update on what's happened at Swansea City over the summer then. We've had a little bit of a slow transfer window. We've made 4 signings so far of significance. One central midfielder, Gonzalo Franco, Ji Sung Om, a Korean left winger who can also play in the centre attacking midfield position, Zan Vipotnik, who we signed on a free transfer from Boro after they got into some financial trouble recently. This one perhaps is the one that's raised some eyebrows. I think we pounced quite quick to get him over the line. A striker from Slovenia, he actually went to the Euros, and a goalkeeper, Lawrence Figueroa. So not really a mass amount of signings at the moment. We still think there might be some more to come. And well, there needs to be in some areas of the pitch, if I'm being totally honest with you, especially at defence where we are looking a little bit weak. We've lost Nathan Wood, Southampton, one of the key centre-backs that we had. And of course, several loan players ending their spells at Swansea last year, which we haven't replaced any of those really. None of the loan slots have been used so far. In regards to what to expect, well, Luke Williams came in January this last season after Michael Duff's experiment of changing Swansea's playing style didn't go to plan. So Luke Williams has reverted back to a possession passing based system, though he's looking to add a bit more bite and attacking output than perhaps we saw under Russell Martin, who obviously went on to be successful at Southampton. So you can expect perhaps a similar vein of Swansea City you would have seen 2 seasons ago compared to the one you would have seen for much of last season. Of course, he came in halfway through the season. Task to change this up mid-season I think was a bit difficult and a bit of a rollercoaster year for us. So going into this year now, he's got a full pre-season behind him. He's been able to bring some of his own players in. He's been able to sort of stamp his tactics and his game plan into the team. So we're kind of all waiting to see what that's going to look like ourselves. Obviously, we've had pre-season to kind of see bits of it, but I don't really think we've seen an awful lot. So it's quite difficult actually for me to give you any sort of insight on what to expect from Swansea going into this season, because I do think there's a lot of new. I do think there's going to be a lot of fresh ideas and we're going to perhaps look a little bit different to what we looked like last season. You know, we kind of had to get over the line, make sure we avoid relegation, whilst also trying to have a drastic shift in game plan mid-season, and that's always tough. And I think the results that followed definitely showed that to be the case. But I would expect now with a full summer, a lot of what Luke Williams wants to implement will start to be shown. One of the things that he came in and said was about the attack. He wanted it to be a lot more efficient than it was under Russell Martin, but we didn't really see that, I wouldn't suggest, under his first few months as Swansea manager. And based on the signings I've mentioned previously already, I do think that he's definitely looking to address this as a priority. And as I said, no defenders have been signed, so definitely one area the pitch is looking to improve is up front. And it's not just the forward positions, it's out wide, it's behind the striker and in midfield, with that link up from the centre of the pitch to the top end of the pitch, which quite often was our issue, trying to have that final pass and break into the dangerous areas. Some players that have left then, Jerry Yates, who's only been here for a year, he's gone on loan to Derby County. It didn't quite work out for him. He's probably the main player of significance in regards to the ones that didn't leave as a result of their loans ending. And Nathan Wood, of course, I already mentioned. He's gone to Southampton. So we are a little bit short in the squad. We're a bit thin in some places, but I would expect some activity still for the end of the window, which, you know, is always the way when the season starts a bit earlier than that. You haven't really got the full squad to discuss and to kind of lay your expectations out based on what you see fully in front of you. Going into this game against Middlesbrough then, I do think it's a bit of a tough start for Swansea. We have not had the best of form against Middlesbrough, home or away, in the last few seasons. I think our last win coming in 2021, so quite some time ago now. I would imagine that was under Steve Cooper, and a different style of football yet again there. Lost the last 4 to you guys on the bounce. There might have been a little bit, you know, tight affairs, a couple of them with 1-goal swings, a couple with 2, but yeah, it's a tricky game for us, I think, historically, in recent times anyway. Having said that, I'm optimistic we can get a decent result in the first game of the season. I think the squad will come back fresh. They all want to play for this manager. They all want to play the style of manager is trying to play. And the new signings do look like they've added a bit to the squad, especially up front. And they all look like maybe some shrewd acquisitions for some low cost. And all of them perhaps want us to keep an eye on this season. I'm going to say we're going to perhaps get a point in this one. I think for both teams, you just don't want to lose the first game of the season. Obviously, the home team really wants to make that a win, but I think a result where both get a point is not disappointing for the first day, the opening day of the season. So I'd be happy to bring a point home, definitely, from this one to give us a platform to build on. And just in regards to some of the friendlies that we have played, we've been on a pre-season tour of Austria where we played a couple of matches there. They weren't necessarily the best matches. We didn't pick up a win, but I think with the sort of rigorous training schedule out on the pre-season tour, that perhaps you don't really care for the result too much. It's close games. We played FC Köln from the German Bundesliga. I say Bundesliga, they got relegated last season. They're going into the Bundesliga 2, but still a decent quality opposition where we lost that game 2-1. So yeah, tight game, I guess. Perhaps, you know, not the best result, but at the same time, I think it's all about the fitness and looking at the ideas on the pitch. We've actually had a friendly, as I'm recording this, on Saturday the 3rd against Rio Ave from Portugal. They're in the Portugal Premier League, and we beat them 3-0 quite convincingly, and a lot of the new signings featured in that. Not Vipotnik, who's only recently signed, but the rest of them featured and actually looked very positive. And yeah, convincing win in that one, 3-0 against a top league opposition from Portugal. So if that's anything to go by, maybe we could be optimistic for our season ahead, but it's early days. And again, it's just a friendly, and they might be at a different stage of their pre-season than we are. So that's all the updates I have for Swansea City. So thanks for having me on again, and shall catch you later in the season.
So thanks for that, Luke. Really good insight as always. And like Luke said, there could be anything this year. Swansea, you know, they need some additions, of course, going back to the Swansea way, which is definitely the right approach for them after a bit of a topsy-turvy year last year. But guys, predictions time again. We're keeping on the prediction theme. What's going to be the score? Any predicted lineup, of course, that would be helpful. But Matt, what's your prediction for next weekend's opening day?
I think firstly, I'm glad we're playing Swansea when we are. A little bit like what Dana said earlier, they are a team who I think if their new signings click, they might start picking up pace, I think, at some point in maybe September, October. So I'm glad we're playing them now. Lineup-wise, I think it'll be exactly the same as yesterday, barring, I think Aidan Morris might be in for Howson. Howson said to a fan after the game that he might be a couple of weeks. It's like a small niggle, but I don't know if he'll start next week. So I think it'll be the same lineup, barring Howson for Morris. Or Morris for Howson. And I think scoreline-wise, I'll go 1-0. I foresee a similar game to maybe yesterday. I think maybe opening day nerves, it might be a little bit cagey. And I think we'll nick it late on once again. So I'll go 1-0 Boro.
So 1-0 Boro for Matt. Tom, what are you going to go for?
We never win on the first game of the season, at least in my experience. I'm going 0-0. I want to go for a repeat of the promotion season where we drew 0-0 away at Preston. Yeah, like Matt says, opening day nerves, it might influence things there. And I just think history and the Boro being permanently jinxed is going to do the rest. So 0-0.
And then for you, Dynamo, what are you going to go for to predict for the opening day?
Well, I'm desperately trying to scramble through Wikipedia to see when the last time it was that we did win the opening game. The last 3 seasons we haven't. So that bodes well, doesn't it? I mean, yeah, I'm on the season where Jonathan Woodgate was the manager and we drew 3-3 with Luton the first game. So yeah, if Boro were to win the opening game, it would be the first time in a long time. But I think we will do it. I think it's going to be 2-0 to us. Crikey, 2-2 Millwall the season before that. Yeah, we don't do well on the opening day, basically. But I think we'll actually win this one 2-0 to Middlesbrough. I think the lineup will be pretty much the same as Matt said as the game against Heerenveen. So Dieng, Vandenberg, Clark, Hackney, McGree, Latte, Lath, Jones, Ayling. I think Morris will be in for Howson. I agree with that. And then Azaz and Engel. Hit that number order, by the way. Can we unnormalize that? But yeah, I think that will be the team. And yeah, maybe on Twitter I'll put out when the last time it was that Boro won their opening game. But I think we will do it this time.
How about while you scramble for that result, I'll sing and dance a little bit. Sing a bit of sync and we'll go from
Can you please sing Shithouse Island a cappella version?
Okay. Well, let me take 2 of this. Okay, so I'm going to go prediction wise. I think we will win as well. I think we'll go 1. You know what? I fancy like just a 4-3. Just absolutely blow my prediction out of the water. Chaos of the opening day when anyone can beat anyone. Everyone's bets just goes up to the air. Nothing really fun happens.
I've got it, guys.
So,
10 years since we last won on the opening day, Birmingham at home, 2-0. Does anyone remember who scored in that game?
10 years ago.
Was he?
Yeah. Kike was one. Who was the other?
I'm not going to spoil it because I've got it in front of me. I know who the other one was.
Diego Fabrini?
Tomlin?
Nope.
Your favourite defender? Your favourite defender, Johnny?
Gareth Southgate.
Ticking time bomb.
Oh, Daniel.
Yeah.
I do remember from that game that Kike had a chance for another goal from a superbly executed set-piece routine and hit it straight at the keeper.
Shock. Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah, Lee Clark was their manager. Obviously, Aitor Karanka was ours. But 10 whole years, 9th of August, 2014 was the last time that Boro won on the opening day.
Well, there you go. And I'm going to go for that as well and celebrate 10 years. We're going to win 4-3. But guys, thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's been a good, very, very good prediction and preview show. But if you liked it, you, the viewer, watching right now, I'm going past the fourth wall and trying to talk to you directly. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Boro Breakdown YouTube channel and your podcast provider as well. That helps us get found. Chat and all that kind of fun stuff. And we've got more lowdowns, of course, coming this year. Some shows throughout the season as well to keep you informed about Boro this year. But for right now, the season is ready to go. But after the last few years, last year we didn't win 8 games, and we haven't won an opening day in 10 years by the sounds of it. So will Boro be ready? Who knows? This has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Match Day chatter in a pod. Up the Boro.